The Football Pod on OTB Sports in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the GAA Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more.
How are you all doing? We're back on Zoom. It's the Football Pod. Paddy Andrews is with me. James O'Donoghue. How are you boys?
That was great.
Good. Fresh
great
after
to meet you last week, lads.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the big one, wasn't it?
Yeah. First 18 months later.
Yeah, we had a great night. Yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Good crack now, yeah. Friday was tough now, but good to see we all managed to get out of Castlebar safe and sound.
We all got home, got down the road, got through it. We had an alright weekend, James.
I did. Tough day in work now, alright, Friday. It was a little bit late, and in fairness, they were alright about it. And game Sunday then, which we lost, unfortunately. Lost to Dr. Croaks.
It's not nice, the rivals.
Yeah. We were doing all right. We got a man sent off then, and they pulled away. They're a good side, to be fair.
They're
senior. We were intermediate this year, so we won't be worrying about them too much anyway, you know?
Okay.
Would there been a big crowd at that from the town now? No?
It would be if it was only county league. If that was a championship match, then it would be packed, all right.
Full house.
If it was, But there was only a few at it.
Let me guess, Sunday midday, so you missed Armagh, or Sunday probably afternoon, so you missed the Armagh-Tyrone game, and you probably missed the Munster hurling final as well.
I caught the second half of the hurling final.
Okay.
And the extra time.
Yeah. Paddy,
Something else, lads.
I'll paint the picture for you. On the left-hand side of the pitch, probably the wrong side, he lines it up outside of the boot and he splits the posts. James O'Donoghue's point that was sent into us 50 times at the weekend. Amazing.
I thought you were talking about Tony Kelly. I was excited there for a minute.
Very similar, yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like Tony Kelly's equaliser, Paddy?
No. I was jumping up. I was kind of I was watching it with my wife, and from the very first whistle, it was an incredible game. It's obviously a huge event, and sometimes the games don't live up to that. But yesterday, like, Twitter was absolutely hopping right from the first whistle, and you're thinking, geez, how can Clare keep this up? But to be fair, Limerick were given as good as they were getting. And they carried on for the next hour and a half. It was incredible stuff. There was probably a little bit of a drop-off, I think. It didn't seem like anyone could miss in the first half. Yeah. James Flanagan, Tony Kelly was off the charts in the first half. And then second half, I kind of got a bit scrappy. There was a lot of wides the first 10, 15 minutes, and then coming down the stretch again, it just took off. And you're thinking, I was kind of shouting for Clare. I don't really know why. I have no real affiliation to either, but just the underdog story. And Hannon hits that point and you think, that's it. Limerick pulled it out of the bag. And because Tony Kelly was taking off the freeze as well.
Yeah, Duggan had taken the last two.
And the sideline, and you're thinking, don't go for that. Like, it's so low percentage. And he just, the cameras from behind on Twitter. You shared one last night on Twitter.
Yeah, the fan footage. Unbelievable.
That is incredible to see. And I have to say, I jumped off the couch. I did. I couldn't believe it. And then Limerick just did a Limerick in extra time, didn't they?
Yeah.
Pulled away and never looked like losing an extra time, but it was class. It was class to watch, though, I have to say.
Even for Hannon to launch that one, to put them one up, was
out of nowhere. Like,
that wasn't on either. It was an absolute monster. Yeah. But Tony Kelly's one. I'd love to actually know, because we were actually saying it during the match. We were saying sideline cuts aren't actually an advantage to the attacking team, because no one knows where it's going sometimes. Like,
Limerick go short with the ball, don't they? Like, Limerick
just
obviously is tactic, like they just pull 5 yards to someone there, like, whereas like Clare scored 2 of them, like
Canning goes from them. You know, Joe Canning goes from just the odd player on every team that'll be able to take them.
Yeah, it's some advantage. But I'd love to know if Tony Kelly put that down 10 times, how many is he putting?
Doesn't matter. He did it when he needed it.
He did it when he needed it, with tired hands, tired legs, pressure on. He missed a couple.
That's the thing. He was taken off the freeze. You're going, what?
The mentality of the monster.
Yeah. Do you know, like, when you're building these players that are just, they have that something extra about them. Obviously, the amount of hard work that goes into being the type of player that Tony Kelly is evident to see. Like, he's incredibly fit. He's well conditioned. He's obviously practicing all the time. But there has to be a little sprinkling of something that when the moment presents itself, that bit of stardust, that when the moment presents himself, I'm taking that. I'm nailing it. You know?
But he didn't even think twice. Like, it's not like he put it down and was kind of throwing up grass to judge the wind and kind of lining it up like a putt. He just threw it down. Short, like, absolutely. Yeah. He didn't even think about putting a shot. Just
he was in a flow state. You'd wonder did he even think. And even did you see one of the Limerick fans? It was a very poor attempt, but he threw a bottle as well. And I don't even know if it went into Kelly's eye line, but it went about 10 yards beyond him. You know, it wasn't as good as Lee Keegan's GPS throw.
One of the Limerick supporters.
Yeah, from the stand. In that video I share, if you watch it, there's a bottle that goes 5 yards over Kelly's head and lands maybe 5 yards in front of him.
Bit of respect, please.
Shocking stuff, but it didn't phase him. Didn't phase him at all. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, it was class.
It was good to watch. So it was a day watching the two of them yesterday, Armagh-Tyrone. Yeah. Probably wasn't as exciting as the Munster hurling final, unfortunately, but
some good stuff too.
No, that was a nice Sunday afternoon.
But you didn't dual screen it, Paddy, did you? I was dual screening them hurling. It was very difficult. I have to admit, I was struggling. To keep up with both games. I had Leitrim Sligo on GA Go at the same time, and that was a very, very dramatic game too. Went to penalties. Yeah. Leitrim, we might come to later on. Leitrim had a goal in extra time that got disallowed. Morris Deegan awarded it. The two umpires called him back. I was like, there's no way he was inside the square. Rewinded it in GA Go, took a screen grab. He's a yard outside the square when the ball is played to him. Shane Moran.
Photos.
A goal in extra time.
The umpires sticking their oar in. Anytime you're looking for them to do something, they have a clue and they're trying to pass the book. And then they get involved there and it's a horrendous call. Look, the photos show it. And ultimately, probably that could have got Leitrim over the line, probably would have, but umpires wouldn't be my cup of tea. Anytime you need them, they're nowhere to be found. Like.
Yeah, if there's not a decision to be made, just don't make a decision. Like there was no reason to call that, especially when one said it was and one said it wasn't. It's very unfair.
And Deegan had awarded the goal. He was gone back to the halfway line. And called him back. It took about a minute, 90 seconds to make the decision then. So
yes,
but your WhatsApp, Tommy, was coming through, and I was like, "This has gone to penalties," and I'm looking at the phone, and the Munster hurling finals down the stretch as well. I was like, I can't do it. Yeah. I was invested in the Munster hurling final, so I only seen the penalties back later on. The
Sligo penalties were good, but the Leitrim keeper got his hand to a few of them. They squirmed under him. Two of the Leitrim penalties were saved by Aidan Devaney. So it was just an awful way to lose because Sligo now in normal time, I felt were probably stronger for a good bit of the second half. Yeah. Pulled away, they were 5 points clear. But then some of the clutch efforts from Keith Byrne and the end of that normal time lads were just, it was brilliant. I think looking at those games and look at some of the, not necessarily the coverage, but the kind of the high scoring, the fact that London have gone, or Sligo have gone to extra time against London and the penalties against Leitrim, the teams playing each other at a similar level. It's exciting that Sligo and Leitrim were still competing in a game that mattered at the exact same time as the Munster hurling final. One of the great Munster hurling finals.
Do you know what it's going to be, lads? And Sunday just showed again. We're getting into the business end of both the Tailteann Cup and the All-Ireland. We are going to see penalty shootouts. No. We're going to see an All-Ireland semi-final or final going to penalties.
God, let there be a penalty shootout.
In Croker with a full house. It's coming, lads. It's coming. We've had a couple already, but there's going to be a big one in Croker, guaranteed, before the end of this season.
I think
100%.
I think it'll have to happen this year because I have a feeling they'll pull it at some stage.
Really?
What's the alternative?
Bring back the replays.
I just don't think they're going to stick with penalty shootouts.
But they don't have the time for replays, do they?
No, they don't. But if you figured out the calendar a little bit, I just have a feeling they're not going to stick with them. Something about it just doesn't feel very GA.
Hold on. The players, it's difficult. And I'm sure Leitrim, I'm sure Handy are gutted on a way to lose a game like that. And I've seen negative reactions. There was a couple of hurling ones as well, underage, and reaction on Twitter. The drama, lads. Like, if it is Dublin Kerry in a semi-final in Croke Park, and there's 80,000 people at it, and it's penalties. Like, that is phenomenal stuff. Like, it's horrendous insane for the players. I get you. The GA don't really care about the players anyway. We know that. So they'd be changing their tune there. We're going to see one, lads. We are definitely going to see one.
I agree. Look forward to it. Well, I rattled through some of the results before we get into some of the talking points. So this weekend, the All-Ireland champions, Tyrone, were dethroned. They were knocked out by Armagh, their old foes. 116 to 110. You know, it was a fairly convincing win in the end for Armagh. Tyrone didn't really lay upon them in the last 15, 20 minutes. So we'll come back to that in a little while. Armagh have now been drawn against Donegal, who they played a couple of weeks ago.
Go to 15 times this season.
Yeah. So down in Cork, Mickey Hart's tactics came in for a bit of, I don't know whether the people were surprised by it, but Louth have played like that for a lot of this year. They played quite a defensive setup. Felt like at times Cork were there to be got at. Cork won by 4 points, 2-12 to 2-8, quite a close game, but Cork are through now. They go on to play Limerick. That game is not in a neutral venue. It's actually in Páirc Uí Chaoimh because of a pre-existing agreement between the two counties. So that game's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Armagh-Donegal next weekend is going to be in Clonus. So we're going to be previewing the games in a couple of minutes' time. I was at Cusack Park for Clare-Meath. Strange game of football. I'm not going to say poor, a strange game of football. Clare won 11, Meath won 9. Clare had enough chances to win this game by 20 points. Harry Hogan, the Meath goalkeeper, got caught for the first goal, a high ball dropping in. Pierce Lillis flicked it in. He made 3 point blank saves, saved the penalty as well. Something happened with the penalty, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it. David Tubridy's lining up to take it. The referee comes in and sends him over to the sideline to change his jersey. Tubridy has to wait 90 seconds.
Blood, was it?
I was behind the goals. I couldn't spot any. There must have been something small. There must have been a speck.
Had to be, yeah.
Can you not let him take the penalty and then change it afterwards? I don't know.
Do you reckon that's why he missed it?
For a reason.
Well, it gave Brian Menton time to go into Harry Hogan, and I don't know how Menton knew what way Tubridy was taking his penalties. Much of a drone down in Doonbeg, but he told Hogan where he was going to go. Hogan showed him the side. Tubridy side-footed it. Hogan saves it.
You reckon he told him where he was going to go? That's
felt like
taking
that.
all the credit away from Hogan.
Well, Hogan did exceptionally well. Yeah, I don't know.
Like we said, even with Tony Kelly's one, right? He went over, put it down, snapped it over, celebrate, boom, we're back. Whereas if he had to go and run over to the sideline and think about it, does it become a harder shot? I think it does. With a penalty, there's so much pressure on a penalty. You just want it to be, just put it down, hit it, get out of there.
Yeah.
So
That's
how I felt.
I would say it did affect him.
I thought it was cruel on Tubridy. But anyways, that's me.
Who was the ref?
Over.
Who was the ref? Go on. David
I forget. I'm going to have to go back and check.
Goff.
No, it wasn't David Goff. David Goff. I'm not sure David Goff was doing that. It wasn't Goff. I don't know. All there are some referees caught the eye this weekend. Obviously, Banty wasn't too happy with Cassidy. Said that they were robbed. Banty said that in 20 years of management, he's never had a go at a referee. I do not know if that's true or not. I'm sure Pat McEntee may confirm.
That's not true. That is. It's the lies that hurt the most.
Yeah.
In 20 years, he's never challenged a ref. Banty, come on.
Why would I give out about a ref? Sure, my own brother's a ref. So Mayo 113, Monaghan 12 points. I'd say they do talk. Mayo 113, Monaghan 12 points. Mayo got through it. I don't know whether it was us being in Castlebar. I was surprised, lads, with how dark that part of the conversation got in Castlebar at our roadshow. The roadshow is obviously available on YouTube. Go back and watch the last 40 minutes.
They were rattled, weren't they? Mayo supporters.
They were.
I'm surprised because in my experience of Mayo is they always think they're going to win. Even if they're not favourites. And then arriving down last week, obviously, and catching up with obviously Keith and Andy and a few people around Mayo, there was a negativity around that it's kind of doom and gloom and not very confident going into that game against Monaghan. But there was a big crowd. Obviously, watched it on TV. There was a big crowd in McHale Park. It was good weather and they got off to a very good start. And in vintage Mayo style, nearly managed to throw it away themselves. But I know the referee decisions will come in for a bit, and Monaghan will feel hard done by, but I thought Mayo were a better team. But look, they should have been out of sight before we even get to the critical penalty or non-penalty decision in injury time. But they're on their own again. They'll get a bit of momentum out of that, and they play Kildare this weekend. So.
They definitely will. And Glenn Ryan, don't know whether he knew what way the draw was going to go, but Glenn Ryan was in Castlebar, a very fruitful visit. He got a scouting mission in, so we got to see Mayo Monaghan. So we're going to come back to that. We're definitely going to be talking about Mayo Monaghan in a couple of minutes' time. The Tailteann Cup, New York, their first game of the Tailteann Cup, they were knocked out by Offaly, 3-17 to 11 points. Carlow's year has come to an end after they bet Tipperary the last time. They just couldn't catch Westmeath. Westmeath won by 121 to 213. Cavan, a 9-point win over Fermanagh. Thomas Galligan scored a goal after 14 seconds in this game. Pádraig Faulkner got their second, 216 to 13 points. And Sligo, of course, as we mentioned earlier, a dramatic game against Leitrim in a packed Sean Park McDermott. It was rocking. Sligo won 4-3 on penalties. The game finished 119 to 216 after extra time. Cracking game of football. So the Tailteann Cup semi-finals are going to be the following weekend, June 19th, a Sunday. They have it to themselves. Offaly versus Westmeath, a local derby, and Cavan versus Sligo. So they're going to be two good games in Croker. We'll come back to them next week in the pod. As we mentioned, the qualifier draw was made this morning for this weekend. We have Clare-Roscommon in Croke Park, Mayo-Kildare in Croke Park, a double header that Paddy Andrews is going to be at. We've got Cork and Limerick and Páirc Uí Chaoimh on the Sunday, and Armagh, Donegal and Clonus. Before we move on, Paddy, Croker Are you looking forward to it?
Nonsense. I'm annoyed with this. Jesus Christ. How many times are they going to do this? Like those games, Kildare and Mayo, Roscommon and Clare, there will be 40,000 people between both those games. Why in God's name are they continuing to do this? Roscommon and Clare played in Portlaoise or Tullamore with a full house. Yeah. Look at the atmosphere in all the Munster Hurling Championship games. Look at the Ulster Championship games. Look at the Gaelic ground or the Athletic grounds yesterday for Armagh and Tyrone. The games in Croke Park, anyone who had the misfortune of watching the Leinster Hurling final on Saturday night was the latest disaster that they've had in Croke Park with no atmosphere, no energy in the game. Kildare Mayo, play that one in Portlaoise on Saturday, play the other one in Tullamore, and you'll get full houses for both of them.
Yeah.
Savage atmosphere. Croke Park will be soulless on Sunday or this Saturday. And it's like, why? Why are they doing this? Every single person, coaches, players, media is saying this, and they just keep doing it. I couldn't believe when I seen that these games were put in Croke Park. There's no need for it. It's not like, it's a Tailteann Cup semi-final. We've guaranteed our Leinster final or whatever it is. These games should not be in Croker. I'm going to go. I ain't going to be happy about it. I'll have my free coffee and my free sandwich in the press box, which is the only plus out of it. But look, those games could be really good. I think they'll be good games, but they could be brilliant events if they're in a provincial ground with a full house on a Saturday night. Good for the local economy, wherever it is, if it's Tullamore, if it's Portlaoise, if it's wherever, like Croker on Saturday night. I'm not looking forward to it, I have to say.
Yeah. They don't get to the same level as a game that's packed out in terms of the crowd. The crowd offer a component to the game, a massive component to the game. So it can't get to the white heat sense of a championship match without a full crowd. That's one of the most important parts, is the crowd going mental as it comes down the stretch and the game is close.
It's championship. So, that's what championship is about.
When there's people, it's the same thing on Sunday, lads. Like Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Cork and Limerick. 10,000 of that.
10,000.
Play that game in Ennis. They're not going to change. They don't listen to anyone. Like say the GAA are doing their own thing, and fair play to them. But as a product, the amount of this is literally coming up every week with these games. People are going, Croke Park's an amazing place. Save it for the biggest games where there's got to be an atmosphere where you're going to get at least 60,000+.
Yeah,
it's not even going to come close to that. And on Saturday, asking people to come up to Dublin, obviously the stuff outside of that economically with travel and hotels and all that stuff.
So true.
It's just nonsense. But they don't care. They're not listening to us. So
it's a pity because going to a packed championship game when you're a kid, that's when memories are made and you're like, I want that. I want to be out there. Yeah. Sure, you look at Croke Park on the TV in an All-Ireland final, you're like, imagine that's a dream. I want to play there when I'm older.
Yeah, but it's 80,000 in it.
That's not,
that's 70,000 in it.
That's the real Croke Park. That's the real championship feeling. But you're not going to get that in these games. But I think it will suit.
If you look, right, the Leinster Hurling final on Saturday night compared to 24 hours later, a full house in Thurles.
Yeah.
With a Munster Hurling final. And look at the atmosphere, the quality of the games. There was not one single person talking about the Leinster Hurling final.
There wasn't one empty seat, and the state of the weather, everyone got absolutely soaked. I was in Ennis that night.
It was a lovely day in Dublin on Saturday evening. Great time to go in for a game. But, whatever. Jesus.
Yeah. That's it. We're going to get into our previews now. The games are good. The draws are good. Whatever way they fall in this time, we've got 2 Division 1 matchups again. So the games are going to be competitive once more. And I suppose that is one thing that we can look at as a plus. I'm really looking forward to looking at or finding out how you guys feel about both of these games. Before we move on, James, one last one on our show in Castlebar. A couple of great stories on the night from both of you boys. Keith Higgins was in flying form. We have a lot of questions coming in. Did you really bench 100 kg?
No.
I didn't squat that.
Deadlifting 100, benching 50. No. I couldn't do my shoulders. I don't know. I said that clearly messing because the ref was saying that I was just a dweeb basically. So I said I can do it, but no.
I could have picked a bigger number than 100.
I know.
We're making it up.
Dumbbell bench was all I could do. I do maybe.
It's funny.
237.5.
Yeah. Okay.
That was your max.
That's good going. What was your max, Paddy?
Sets of 25.
I do warm-ups 37.5.
Did you see the photo Sportsfile tweeted today of the Limerick boys celebrating?
Oh, reckless.
Did
Did you see Sean Finn?
They're all animals. But
Animals.
when they're walking around the parade and they're just going.
Is there lads like that in every dressing room? Like, I've never seen someone that ripped on a GA field.
I think the hurling fellas are in better, say, muscular shape. But I don't think they do as much running.
Okay.
I would say that even in a game, they probably... I asked Keith, actually, and he disagreed with me, but I reckon they do a lot less running in a match and in training.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I reckon that they could concentrate more on the gym in that sense. But I don't think that the football teams would be in that kind of shape. Maybe I'm wrong, but...
Anyone that does look like that?
They're lifting massive weight.
Behind closed doors?
One or a few, maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Few, yeah, but...
But the boys have been at that for a few years now. That team is on the road training 4 or 5 years. You don't get into that, Nick, over 3 or 4 months. Like, that's time and sacrifice, and that's the name of the game. They got away with it yesterday again, and they just seem to have that mentality, don't they? It's just like we spoke about it so many times in this in relation to football teams. Once you get a couple of wins, that gives you that confidence in those tight games. And you could see it again yesterday with Limerick. Obviously, we went into extra time. They just didn't seem like losing it. As brilliant as Clare were, that bit of experience. And it helps when you've absolutely jacked 15 lads that are animals.
Animals.
Well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
animals.
I'm sure that helps as well.
Well, you are listening to episode 21 of the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. As we mentioned, we had a great night in Castlebar the other night. So thank you to everyone who came along to it, and everyone who's watched the show so far on YouTube or listened on podcast. You can still check it out. The first hour, I would say, is very much relevant at any time. Loads of great stories and fun and crack. And then we got into a bit of a Mayo Monaghan preview that Kildare fans might want to listen to, because Paddy Andrews throws it open to the crowd at one stage. That could have gone any way, Paddy, when you said, "Lads, what do you think?" And all you hear back is, "It was shite. It was terrible." But
and they were right. And
they were. Yeah. No, they were. So have a listen back to that. The Football Pod is brought to you every week by AIB, proud sponsors of the Senior Football Championship. Check out #TheToughest for more. We're going to be back right after these, talking about this weekend's qualifier action. You're very welcome back to the Football Pod with Paddy Andrews and James O'Donoghue. Lads, I think I want to start with Armagh-Tyrone.
Ooh.
This weekend, Paddy, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Yep.
Kieran McGeeney possibly got one of the biggest wins of his championship reign over Armagh. It's a massive one. He's knocked out the reigning All-Ireland champions.
Oh, it's definitely his biggest win in the championship. This is 8th season there, and we've spoken about Armagh a lot and their progression over the last number of years. They've now, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, they've consolidated themselves as a top Division 1 team. That's the first stage. And we've used like Monaghan as an example where they're kind of hanging on. They're usually involved in relegation, but for 6-7 years, they've been in Division 1. And that just gives you a solid base to go from. We said like Derry's success was nearly even more stunning last week because they've kind of jumped the queue. They've done it the other way around, where they haven't got into Division 1 yet, but they've won the Ulster Championship. Whereas Armagh was the exact opposite of that. They consolidated themselves in Division 1, but they had not won any big championship games. And I don't know, if they were beaten, is McGeeney under pressure?
Yes.
Possibly. I'd say he probably would have been. I'd say probably, because it was getting to become a monkey on their back. We expected big things again of them 7 weeks ago in Ballybuffet, and they were so flat that day. Donegal totally swallowed them aside. So there was big pressure on them. There was big pressure on both teams. And we're getting to that stage of the season where it's knockout. If you don't perform, you're out. And they didn't get a great start. Did Conor McKenna's goal. And it's funny when you look at that goal, both teams, the Athletic Grounds is a tight pitch. Both teams play relatively defensively. But defenders can kind of get into can be a bit complacent because there's so many bodies back there that you can get caught between two stools, between actually defending and just going, well, I don't need to do this because I have 6 lads beside me. And Michael McKiernan's run for Conor McKenna's goal, because he just has intent. And this is what we were so frustrated with Donegal the week before, where everything was so lateral and you're not really probing, you're not penetrating, you're not challenging defenders. Michael McKiernan, maybe because he is a defender and he has pace, just says, I'm cutting straight through, goes by about 5 Armagh defenders. No one gets a hand on him. And Conor McKenna gets the goal. And it's a great start for Tyrone. And you're thinking, okay, they've learned their lessons from Derry. This is the sting in the tail. And we spoke about this last week. I expected Tyrone to win this one. I was waiting to go, surely the All-Ireland champions have something about them that are going to turn it around. And that was probably as good as it got for Tyrone. After that, Armagh made a couple of changes. Obviously, Soupy Campbell started the game.
Yes.
Had a massive impact, gets man of the match. Started really well, drifted out of it, and then became massive at the end again. Rian O'Neill grew into the game. He was probably quiet again. He played out the pitch. Mm-hmm. Tyrone were going to flood bodies back. But the key word I wrote watching this game, any time Armagh attacked with intent, they hurt Tyrone. And we've said it. We're going to see these blanket defences. We're going to see bodies back. We're going to see it again in Clonus on Sunday when Armagh played Donegal. The blueprint, Armagh were so timid against Donegal. They brought everyone back. They had no intensity in their attack. They learned their lessons. Look at Aidan Nugent's goal. It's a 45-yard kick pass in, and he skins Benny Tague. That was a risk. Tyrone played, gave him a rookie his debut, and it did not work out. And to be fair, he gets skinned for the goal, for Nugent's goal. But that's a kick pass inside. Jason Duffy as well takes on Ronan McNamee. Pace, score. Mm-hmm. Rian O'Neill, the two unbelievable scores in the second half to seal the deal. Stephen Campbell and Andrew Burnens from long range, like 60-yard kick passes from Rian O'Neill. It just shows Armagh can do these things. Some reason against Donegal, they just didn't do it. It was like they stayed in their shell so much, and they learned their lessons from that. Anytime they kick the ball, and there's a risk against Tyrone because Tyrone hurt you in turnovers, but once they started kicking the ball inside, or they just attacked at pace, they said, right, get runners off the shoulders, let's be direct against this Tyrone defence. And Tyrone had no answers for that. And that's a lesson for Armagh for Sunday. 8 weeks ago, they were flat. They didn't fire a punch really against Donegal. They've learned valuable lessons from that win in the Athletic Grounds. It's a big win for them. They're still up against it, but to knock out Tyrone convincingly, 6-point winners, and they were full value for it. It's a massive win for McGeady and a massive win for Armagh.
They definitely were. James, as Paddy mentioned, Armagh made a couple of changes. They brought in Stephen Campbell. I'd be interested to get both of your takes on the perception of a player like Stephen Campbell. He's definitely been a bit of an impact sub over the last couple of years, maybe a finisher. Somebody comes in the last 20 minutes. James, when you were looking at Campbell there, as Paddy mentioned, he goes out of it a bit towards the end. Would he have proven himself now as a starter to Kieran McGeady? Because he definitely hasn't nailed down a starting place over the last 4 or 5 years.
He hasn't, but you see, you have to weigh it up as a player. He wants to have an important role, obviously. But I think that his role coming off the bench was just as important. Like, it was not like he was sidelined and he was
always in the mix,
put out in the corner. He was always coming on and actually making a big contribution in the big games. So he was on the field when maybe the intensity had dropped a little bit and he could get scores and create scores at the right time. So is it a fitness thing that maybe he's come on a bit recently, or they just wanted him on the field for his experience? But he got two and he touched a load of ball. Like, would I start him? Yes, I think he's definitely one of their best forwards. But for McGeady, it must have been a case of, will he last the pace to be able to come up with the big plays late in the game when they're really needed? Like a point, if it's going down the stretch and it's level or you're a point down, like that point to get you level late on is a far more valuable score than early in the game. Do you know, like you need a different kind of a personality to step up with those big scores that Stephen Campbell obviously does have. So it'll be interesting to see if he holds his place. I don't think it was ever an ability thing. It must have been a fitness thing because they wanted him on the field late on.
Yeah,
lads, he's nailed on to start. Like the two scores he gets. And to be fair, the way the game starts, and Tyrone could have let him off and Tyrone bring everyone back. He was getting a lot of ball first 10, 15 minutes. I'd say he's probably highest possession kill. He was looking for kick passes inside. You could see there was a bit of, okay, they're trying to probe, which is what you need to do against a blanket defence. But he does go out of it. And not just him. I think Tyrone kind of come back into it just before half time. They get a couple of scores to get it back to a point. So Armagh, not just him, Armagh were kind of going out of it. But then down the stretch, particularly after Richie Donnelly comes back on, and it's an interesting thing, I'll talk about that, but the final quarter, Armagh dominate, and he kicks two brilliant scores. The first one he gets after Ethan Rafferty gets his second score today. The crowd goes wild. The next play, Campbell breaks and gets a brilliant score, and then he gets that the score off Reid O'Neill's 60, 70-yard free, and he catches it and spins it over on the right. They're iconic scores from him.
Sensational, yeah.
And it shows that's down the stretch. So I don't think it was just him that went out of the game. I think Armagh probably struggled around that middle period. But he, without a doubt, lads, he's going to be playing from the start. On Sunday. I don't think I can afford not to play.
Yeah. All Armagh's forwards scored.
They did. Yeah. And I think the big thing,
Vernon off the bench as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We saw that impact from the bench. We know that Armagh can mix it up. I'd be a big fan of Andrew Mernon over the last couple of years. And
he got an unbelievable one as well. Reid O'Neill's 3 as well. What a score.
Yeah, sensational stuff. And I think, James, in terms of their setup against Donegal, Jamar Howell started that day. He came on this day. Aidan Nugent, obviously, I think on commentary they were speculating about why Nugent didn't start the last day, but his red card didn't get overturned until very late coming into that game against Donegal. Nugent,
he was good. He was good.
Influential.
First, no, he was on.
Yeah, but on a rookie,
it was Benny Tagg's first start, and it just didn't go well for him. But he was direct. He was sharp. He kicks 1-1. He'll be in the mix as well then on Sunday.
Yeah. I even just think
options. You need options because you don't know what's going to happen. Like week on week, there's no big time to change tactics or anything. You kind of go at what you have now. There's no more time to kind of mess around or experiment. Whoever's playing well is going to play. It has to be. If you look,
by the time that game rolls around, they lost by 7 points. It'll be 2 months exactly since they lost in Ballybuffet.
Yeah,
Donegal annihilated Rafferty's kick out.
That's the thing.
Probably didn't capitalise on it. They had a lot of bad wides in the first half. Armagh were too conservative in that game. There's no doubt about it. They could not have watched that game back and said, the whole performance was flat, but they're coming in, bouncing after the National League and just going, they didn't fire a shot. The only time they troubled Donegal was the 10 minutes after half time, where they started being direct. Reid O'Neill started playing inside, and it was like, now they're a handful. It was the Armagh we associated. They did that at times against Tyrone on Sunday, and it's worked for them again. They have to go for this game on Sunday. Do not go to Clonus. Donegal are wounded after losing that Ulster final. Do not go there and try and hold the fort again. It doesn't suit Armagh, and it didn't suit them 2 months ago at Ballybuffet. They lost by 7. They could have lost by double figures. Learn the lessons from it, and I expect that they will have.
It's a very good point, because Donegal were 3 up at half time. Armagh came out like a train. Patton made a couple of big saves. They left 2-1 or 2-2 behind them, and next thing, Donegal got the next 1-2. Game over.
Brady gets the goal, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think
it was the whole game. That whole game, Armagh were just flat. There was no energy to them. There was no everything that was positive about them in the National League. Intent. That's what the one word I was writing down watching that game yesterday. Even Tyrone, any time there was intent in their attack and someone had a bit of pace, either with a kick pass or runners off the shoulders, they hurt the teams. Donegal didn't fire a shot against Derry because they were so passive. Armagh, when they lost to Donegal, were the exact same story. If you're playing against bodies back there, you have to have pace in your play. There has to be intent. If there's not, forget about it. You're going to just be lateral, not challenging defenders for the whole 75 minutes, and it's easy to defend against. And Armagh, there's no way McEntee and Donaghy, these guys, can look at those performances and look at the game 2 months ago at Ballybuffet and say, right, we're going to go with that approach again. Couldn't. Be madness.
I think that to add on to that, I think that Armagh not got nervous against Donegal the first time, but there was a lot expected of them after the National League, which was probably a new feeling for them. They were like, we actually have to go out now and be on the front foot. I think they might have got caught there a little bit. So in the next game against Donegal, they can actually afford to take more risks with the ball and give the ball away more, because we've seen Donegal, they don't exactly attack with blistering pace. Donegal are sauntering up the field. So you can actually afford to put some ball in and still have time to get back into your defensive shape. So I think that Armagh will be definitely given instruction off Donny to put some diagonal balls in, and then they'll still have time to get back.
Have the boys to mix it up with, that's the thing. So
variety is key as well.
Yeah, okay. So what we're expecting is the Armagh that we may have seen, that bit of chaos that we saw, a little bit more of that chaos saw against Monaghan when they fell short last year, a little bit more of the mixing it up game plan that we saw against the Dubs in the league that obviously worked so well for them.
Yes.
That's kind of what we don't think that they're going to look at the Derry template and say, this is what we have to do to stop Donegal.
No. I'd be shocked.
I would
be shocked. They have a template. They have their own template. They don't have to copy anyone. They don't have to say, this is what happened, we'll copy that. Because if you do that, you've no identity. No one believes in it. You have to have your own traits and go with them. And Armagh have loads of them. They're great kickers. They're great catchers. And they've always had a good conversion rate in front of goals.
Yeah.
And they have some top quality. So
it'll be interesting to see, just on it, because Rian O'Neill didn't play well against Donegal last day. Brendan McCall kind of wrapped him up.
Job, yeah.
Obviously, such a build-up for Rian O'Neill going into that game, the suspension and all that stuff. He was quiet enough yesterday against Tyrone. He was playing out the pitch a bit. If I was Rian O'Neill, I'd be wanting another shot at Brendan McCall here.
Yeah.
And I'd be saying, put me inside. Give me 15 minutes inside in each half and kick the thing into me.
Paddy Lynch made bits of McCall.
Yeah.
For Kevin
McCall had a brilliant league, but he struggled against Paddy Lynch. There's no two ways about it. I'm just thinking, I know Donegal won that game convincing, but Donegal are ruined it there now. I expect a kick from them and they'll learn lessons from it. But from Armagh, the improvement they can make from that game at Ballymaffey, and I've put the mentality, I'm thinking Rian O'Neill, guys like this, like the kick out is going to be massive again, lads.
Yes.
Ethan referee, even though he was brilliant from play yesterday, he kicked 2 inspirational scores. There's issues around the kick out as well, and Donegal are going to be all over that. And if they cause the same havoc there, they won't miss as much again. That could be the winning and losing of it. But you've got someone like Ben Creeley there yesterday, really stood up. He's a huge guy. Just take Armagh, this is what I'm saying. Take the risk. Kick the bloody thing long to that. Just get a flick on. You see that they didn't convert the goal chance against their own. Campbell probably chooses the wrong pass to Eoghan, but that's the type of play you associate with Armagh. Attack at pace. And I tell you, that's the thing that will hurt Donegal. That Donegal do not deal with fast transitions at all. So the template is there. If Armagh are brave enough to go for it, and thinking of bounce, they've beaten the All-Ireland champions, they've beaten Tyrone 7 days later.
McGuigan dragged McCall out a good bit in the Derry Donegal game. I know the game was a bit like that, but McGuigan did play a lot of his football, even though he started in 14 out around top of the D, out around 11. Yeah. You, like James, as Paddy said there, would you think Rian O'Neill would be thinking, put me in there? He's obviously a footballer who can mix it up in the middle third, but that middle third is going to be quite congested. A lot of big men there between Donegal and Armagh. Do you think O'Neill should be trying to get out there or staying in around the square to do the damage?
I'd be staying in. I would be staying in. It's made for him. I don't think Donegal are that defensive that he's going to be inside there going, there's not a bit of space here. And there's going to be
if they're slow transitioning, Jimmy, then he's in trouble. There's no point in being in there. But if they're going to kick the ball, put him in.
True, absolutely. But if 2 kicks, I used to always say, if there's 2 kicks in an attack, it's almost a guaranteed score. 2 successful kicks up the field. Like, there is no defense that can get back in time. So they have the hands up there. Just let the bloody thing in. But if I was Rian O'Neill, I'd be saying, I'll stay inside. I wonder, is it his call to say, I'm going to drift out? Or is it the lads on the sideline saying, Rian, go out? Like, is it a concentration thing? It takes a certain type of mentality again to stay inside and not get a kick for 15 minutes.
Paddy McBrearty-esque.
Yeah. Like you have to, he's one of Armagh's main players, but you almost have to be a periphery player at the same time if you want to play that role. You have to be willing to just watch a lot of the game.
He's not a natural corner forward. So, you know what I mean? Like McBrearty could do that. 30 minutes, he'd stay in.
McBrearty could do 68.
He doesn't touch the ball and then he just pops up and it's bang.
Yeah,
that's the match for him. Rian O'Neill, to be similar probably to Murphy in a way. We spoke with this earlier on in the season where he can do all the other stuff as well. That he'll be frustrated going in there. But I'm telling, if he stays in there and Armagh kick the ball in, he can win them that game.
Yeah,
my half his possessions. But like, is he as useful? Bloody hand passing the ball across the 65 to James Morgan or something like that, and getting it back and hand passing it across the other way. It's like anyone can do that. He's the X factor.
Yeah,
use him.
Well, I definitely think having Stephen Campbell and Rory Grugan playing as your 2 playmakers in the half forward line are going to add to it. You know, and that's going to add to the kicking inside. It'd be interesting to see if they mix up that full forward line a little bit more, if they stick with Duffy and Nugent either side of O'Neill. So that's the main part of Armagh-Donegal. We have to stick on the kickouts one more time, because Donegal, when they put that full press on Armagh, and we were talking about the BBC behind the goal shot The overhead shot, it was incredible to watch. They really put the squeeze on Ethan Rafferty, who, to be fair, is a rookie in goals. It's a wild card move from McGeeney. He did it halfway through the league this year. As pointed out in commentary the weekend, Rafferty kicked 2 points, 2 exceptional points, was actually, I think, the 4th highest scorer in championship on the pitch at the weekend. Like, he's been a big man at half forward, has kicked his points over the last 7 or 8 years. Donegal didn't put the same press on Oran Lynch's kickouts. They didn't put him under the same type of pressure. And a lot of people would have suggested that they could have got joy against Derry in that regard. Are Donegal going to switch it on again against Rafferty?
I'm going to go after him.
100%. They're going to put 12 up. They're going to put 12 up and they're going to leave.
Hatton will be midfield, that's it.
Yeah. They're going to absolutely press the bejesus out of it. But in fairness, Donaghy loves kickouts. Like, he'll have loads of ideas of getting around it. So I think that Armagh they'll have a plan. They won't go in there blind.
The only thing, Jimmy, what it looked like in Ballybuffet, it looked like they didn't have a plan.
I agree. I think that they're
like, they were shocked. You were looking in and they're going, boy, you got someone do this fella a favour. Someone move for him. Give him anything.
Yeah. And
it looked like they were just shell-shocked. And they kind of got away with it because Donegal were so wasteful in front of goal. Donegal are going after Rafferty because he was so influential. The 2 scores he got were inspirational scores, but he was under pressure on kickouts as well yesterday.
True. Is he better?
Nothing to go off, but Donegal will be going after him. And I'm just thinking, you know what? If Donegal are going to press and they put 12 lads up, put the ball on Creeley and just get one flick on.
Yeah,
that might be
just a little tap long. Yeah,
that might be where O'Neill slips out as well and gets the ball on the wing and flicks over the top for the runners. And Michael Murphy to McHugh move. Okay, that's Donegal Armagh. It's going to be exciting. I'll come back for your predictions in a little while. Want to move now on to Croke Park, 6 o'clock Saturday evening. Paddy, hopefully you'll be warmed up at this stage. Hopefully you'll get a good game despite the lack of a crowd that's going to be there.
There'll be all, I think.
Yeah, Mayo-Kildare. This game has a bit of history. Newbridge and nowhere from a couple of years ago. Cian O'Neill appearing on the 6-1 News. Mayo's run in 2018 coming to a crashing end in Newbridge. Kildare had the life sucked out of their excitement around them against Dublin. It was very flat, very poor. All the excitement that we'd built up a little bit about them. And I think it was legit. I think there was some good moments that we had seen in the league. There was a bit of excitement in Newbridge when they bet Dublin. There was a good feeling around this management team. It's hard to pick yourself up, James, after a defeat like that to Dublin and now bounce back with Mayo? Or would you be thinking, brilliant, we want Mayo in this game?
I think the latter. I think it's a case of great draw.
Really?
Great draw. Big game. Yeah, big game. It's all or nothing. It's such a risk. If they win it, then they're back up to even higher confidence levels to where they were. And if they lose, they're up. So there's all they can do is just fight for it. But I actually do have a great feeling about Kildare. I think that was not the real Kildare. That was not the real Kildare.
I think Kildare were looking for an Al Limerick out and I had this morning, lads.
Well, some of them probably were. But at the end of the day, where'd you get the value? By beating the Mayo or by beating the Limerick? Do you know? There's way more value to be got out of beating the Mayo.
They're not going to beat Mayo.
I think they will. Mayo were bang average against Monaghan.
They
only needed to get through it though.
Yeah,
a lot of changes in that team, a lot of injuries. You got the team obviously on Wednesday night. I didn't believe you, Jimmy.
Who was in the Mayo team for this weekend?
Jimmy sources.
You're talking the Horan there today, were you?
Right.
I don't know who back or not.
Will I don't know who be back?
I have no idea. Sure, how would I know? I think that they'll probably save him. Even if he was fit, I'd say 10, 15 minutes.
He wasn't even tagged at the weekend.
No. James came to us in the intermission in Castlebar behind the stage and said, no Ryan O'Donoghue this weekend. I was like, where'd you get that? He goes, I have my sources. I didn't believe you. I did not believe you. I sent 2 texts to see if I could get the team and there was no team for Thursday. Well done.
Well, I'm telling you, Kildare's forwards, there has to be another kicking them at Croke Park. As well, it's their second game in a row in Croke Park, which is a big thing. You know,
what are they going to do?
How many games have they had in Croke Park in the last few years, though? And they've had issues.
I know, but they're not going to be overwhelmed by the setting or anything. They've been there a couple of weeks ago. They're going to go back in. They have a chance to actually redeem themselves because they were, you know, in the eyes of everyone, they looked foolish after Dublin game. You know, 5 goals is embarrassing for anyone. So just go out and give it absolute lash. I think they'll trouble Mayo at the back. I still don't think Mayo Mayo are where they should be or where they need to be.
Paddy, this is the second time now in the space of 3 days that James O'Donoghue was backed against Mayo.
Yeah.
He called for Monaghan on Thursday night.
No, look, if you look at the two most recent games, so look, Kildare's performance, there was issues against Westmeath in their Leinster semi-final. They conceded way too much against, with all respect,
216 or something, wasn't it? Or
216 against the Division 3 team.
Yeah.
He felt that was going to be issues for them against Dublin, and it was car crash stuff against Dublin. And even their forwards, who was kind of their ace in the hole, didn't perform at all against Dublin, completely shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So look, they're hurting from it, but they would have been shell-shocked by that performance. Like that's a hard one to pick themselves up against. And I understand what you're saying, Jimmy. If they get Mayo and they beat Mayo and Croker, it's like they're back. They're not back. I think that performance against Dublin and how well they were beaten shows that they're not at the top table. So I think maybe they might have been looking, going, listen, maybe get a Limerick or a Clare, a slightly friendlier draw, and we might get into the All-Ireland quarterfinals then and see where we're at.
Then they'd get a hiding in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I know. That's what. I don't. I've lost a lot of faith from what I've seen. I just think that performance, mentally, was flat. I'm looking at Mayo. I'm looking at Oisin Mullen back to his best. Paddy Durkin back. Robbie Henley back in goal. Mayo are stronger. Mayo are stronger than what they were when they lost to Galway. Yes, Ryan O'Donoghue is a loss, and I'd be amazed if in 7 days he turns around from not even being in the squad in Castlebar to be playing against Kildare.
It's a massive loss. Groin injury, yeah.
Groin, forward shooting like that'd be a big ass. But I just think Mayo were great, and we'll touch on Mayo Monaghan separately now. But I just think Kildare, the defense. What are they going to do defensively? Are they going to start?
I don't think they'll be as worried about. Like Dublin's forwards are
the quality.
They got way too. I think they got too concerned over that, and they were dropping back sweepers, doing nothing, and leaving John Small free in front of the goals. I don't think they're going to try anything fancy against Mayo.
James, do you think Mayo's attack will exploit Kildare's defence the same way that Sean Bugler picked out Conor Callaghan in front of the goals 3 times in that first half?
I personally, I think that Kildare can fix a lot, and I don't think that Mayo have the ability to do what Dublin did. Like
you're going with them, you're back in the Lilies.
I am. I just have a gut feeling on it. I have a gut feeling on it.
You'd imagine Oisin Mullen will be on Daniel Flynn. That'd be a good one. I look forward to that.
Would you put Mullen on Flynn? Like we've seen Mullen go up against the marquee man a few times, and does it take a bit away from his game going forward?
I'd say they put him on him, and I'd say they put Lee Keegan on Jimmy Hyland, and Lee Keegan will go to town on Jimmy Hyland.
I don't think so.
I think that was meant to, like, I think Jimmy Hyland could cause him trouble, but I think if I'm James Horner going, Lee, that fella struggled against the Dubs, he was taken out of it, go in and do whatever it is that you do when you mark these guys and deal with them, and Mullen is made for Daniel Flynn.
Yeah.
But if the same as we say with Rian O'Neill, having not performed against Donegal the last day, there's got to be a like, if I'm thinking, if that's me, there's a mentality there going, this fella ate me the last day, give me one more go at him. And if you're Daniel Flynn, having so flat, the marquee guy in the Leinster final, Ben McCormick as well, so flat, you're going, right, it's shit or getting off the pot here. We're in Croker.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm going after it. But
that's powerful. That can be powerful.
I know. I've been in it myself, but I just don't think Kildare will bounce back as well as they would hope. And I think Mayo are better.
Can you remember a time when you felt that in Championship? A specific? I don't know if you do.
There's times when you're just, you haven't played well, and you're just like, you just haven't been as sharp, and you're thinking, oh, geez, was I mentally as sharp? Was I as prepared for that game as it could have been? Or why did your man get the better of me? Or what was I doing differently? And it just gives you an edge. Just gives you, like, you're bursting out of the jersey to get back out on the pitch again. And that's the beauty of this season, that it's like literally a week later or 2 weeks later. You're not waiting 7 months for the following season. These teams, this is their second chance. And that's why it was surprising with Tyrone yesterday, that was their second chance, and they still didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's an interesting weekend ahead, because this is the final hurrah. You're looking at what's Donegal's bounce back from such a, they will be raging losing that Ulster final, but you're looking at Kildare, like, it was diabolical in the Leinster final against Dublin. It wasn't they were nicked, they put in a good performance, and there's things that they were all over the shop, all over the pitch. And I don't think they can turn all of that around in time. I just think Mayo are a better team, despite Mayo's flaws that we see on Saturday again in Castlebar.
James, if Mayo was to come through at this test, so they've beaten Monaghan and they've now beaten Kildare, will they have done enough to change their tune going into an All-Ireland quarterfinal?
Mayo are his new Tyrone.
I know, that's what I'm getting at.
It is unlikely.
After 6 months of slating them.
Is it unlikely?
To change my opinion on them.
Like with a statement win against Clare, what do they have to do to change their mind?
They need a statement.
And what is that?
It's up front. It's up front. They need to be slicker. They need to be more in tune with each other. I don't even know who's going to be 11, 14, 15. You wouldn't know who their main men are at the moment. It's it could be anyone. So I don't think they have the leadership up front that when it comes down to it in a big, big game, that they're going to be able to be dragged out. And going down through the years, that Mayo team has been incredible at that. You know, they've come back in massive games, shown unbelievable leadership, unbelievable personality. I think that was one of their X factors, and that's missing from them at the moment. I think that Kildare can get at them. The thing is that Kildare management would have not earned their money, it's not getting paid, but they would have shown their steel over after that game, from directly in the dressing room after that Dublin game to the Tuesday night or whenever they went training again. Was it a case of, oh my God, what went wrong? You know, blah blah blah, depression central, or was it a case of park that was an absolute one-off? Let's go back at it again. And if it was the second one, then they have a great chance.
You don't think, Paddy, that the Clare management on the Tuesday may have been pointing fingers at the players, or will they have been pointing fingers at themselves?
No idea. I've no idea. I've no idea. You're kind of guessing there, and I've been in situations where you've lost games and the players kind of take it on themselves. Situations where management are eating you out of because you haven't executed the game plan. Look, I don't think there's any doubt. There's no way Kildare set out, I feel, to be that completely open against Dublin. I'm sure Glenn Ryan and Anthony Rainbow and these guys would have had a plan that we're going to try and manage this. And for whatever reason, whether it was nerves, whether it was Dublin being really good, whether it was Kildare just not performing at all, it could be a myriad of reasons why it didn't go well. But they have to park that. I just remember listening to Glenn Ryan after the game, and he couldn't even put his finger on it, which suggests that's not what we sent these guys out to do. We didn't go just off you go, and Dublin scored 5 goals in the first quarter. So Kildare will improve from that. I get that. But I think it's a hard one to call, lads, because Mayo on Saturday, right? It was the most Mayo performance it was just vintage Mayo. There's 10 shots in the first half, they score 1-7.
Yeah. And
you're going, hold on a second here.
Yeah.
What is happening with Mayo here? Because Mayo are not a clinical team, and they never have been. And that's probably been their Achilles heel in terms of trying to win All Irelands, that when push comes to shove, they just have not been able to shoot the lights out. And you're thinking in the first half, they mix up their game plan. They have their running game. Oisin Mullen is back. Matty Ruan, for the first time, is kind of back playing well. He's had a couple of quiet games. Killian's kicking scores. His penalties are unbelievable. We get that. And you're just thinking, Jesus, Mayo, they're mixing it up. They're kicking the ball long. They're running the ball. They're causing havoc. And then the third quarter is...
They went 20-odd minutes without a score.
21 minutes. Killian gets a point at the start of the second half.
Yeah.
They have 5 of the next shots in this game. Owen McLaughlin's, James, you're talking about 2 kick passes over the team. That was a classic example. Headley hits Orm, long. Orm hits Killian O'Connor, long. And all of a sudden, Monaghan are all at sea. And it comes to Owen McLaughlin, and you're just like...
Side-footed.
Sheer panic in his face. I'm going to hit this as hard as I can. Like, Beggan couldn't not save it. Beggan got
it was straight at him. It was.
He missed that. But then Orm misses. The next attack, Paddy Ruan misses. Then Paddy Durkin misses. Then Headley misses a free. And they're thinking...
Keegan missed too. Yeah.
This is Mayo all over again. They could have won 4 there and be 11 points up, and the game was over. They're thinking, 10 minutes ago, they were uber efficient. And it's like, this is Mayo in the mix now. And then they have a 20-minute period where they can't score. They literally cannot kick snow off or up. And they're going, lads, how many times have we been here before?
Yeah, exactly. So it was the start of the game, which was the outlier. Like
totally. That's Mayo are not clinical.
80%. Yeah, for them to
Mayo
get
are not clinical.
Yeah,
they're
I
not.
agree.
That's the exception to the rule.
Yeah, it was.
And then it comes down the stretch, and they're 5 points up going into injury time, and they nearly lose the game. And they're fortunate to get out of it. But I just think their experience that they have, they can hit a purple patch and manage a game to get through against Kildare. Durkin's return, Paddy Durkin gives them serious. He gives them a scoring threat, and he's an energy from the
giving
back.
them punch though. They felt like they had punch.
And
McLaughlin as well. McLaughlin was excellent, bar his aberration for the goal.
I think Hessian lads a lot to him going forward as well. I think he's another added bit of pace coming from the back. Like, let me just give you this list, right?
Just on it, sorry, I know we get to better. Aidan O'Shea was his best games from out in a long time.
Really?
Matty Rowan, despite a couple of misses in the second half, which is starting to creep into his game, he's probably forcing things. But his first half performance, he was back to his best. Henley's kick out to goal, give them an option. Another game for Killian. I'm back at Mayo in this game. Mayo will beat Kildare.
Henley is worth 3 or 4 points because he'll score the frees and he's more accurate on the kick out than the vast majority of fellas in the country, never mind the county.
Yeah, very true. That was the point I was going to get to. I was going to list it out to you. Henley in goals, a full back line of Hessian, Mullen and Keegan, a half back line of McLaughlin, Cohen and Durkin. I'd have a feeling that Jordan Flynn will be back for the next game and he'll be in midfield with Ruan. Aidan O'Shea will slip into the half forward line. Obviously, he won't play there. He'll play a lot deeper. Then you've got Orm. I liked Orm at 11. I have to say, it may not have been the most. I think there's a bit of a playmaker element there. Adds a bit of a kicking element to their midfield as well. Carney, the big boy, played full forward. If Ryan O'Donoghue isn't back, would you stick with that? He doesn't look like the most natural of full forwards.
He got a lovely score in the first half there, but look, I think he's probably going to have to play. Yeah. I don't think Ryan O'Donoghue is going to be back from a groin injury and not tugging out at all. Today playing 7 days later.
Definitely wouldn't start anyway.
It's a massive ask. If he was 26 and he got 10 minutes at the end there, you'd be thinking, right, they might force this through. But I think it's too soon, particularly for a forward with a groin injury. They're a slow one. You can't take risks with them. I think
that Kildare will target Cohen.
Okay.
Because they have McCormack to slip in there. They'll keep him high.
Cole won't be on McCormack.
Well,
I don't think they can afford.
That means they're taking him out of centre back, and he's not a wing player, and he's not a midfielder.
I think he'll sit in front of the full back line and kind of protect against Daniel Flynn and Jimmy Hoyle, because Clare are going to try and hit those boys. So they're going to try and sit him there. Aidan O'Shea might drift back as well, and it might be Dermot O'Connor and Ruan midfield.
Will they cheat off Cribben?
I think
dangerous as well.
I think maybe Durkin could be the man for Ben McCormack and try and get a goal back to the right. Matchup.
But I think the Kildare will try and get someone good on Cohen because I don't think his marking is as good as the other Mayo backs, and he's in a central position. Yeah, no, he's an excellent leader, great going the other way. But if I was to say, who can we get joy off there? Just land someone on him for the first even 10 or 15 so he can get a bit of joy.
Would you think Kildare go into this is what we're talking about, that they say we were so open against Dublin, we're going to bring back a Tyke Byrne or someone from maybe one of our half forwards to play only with 5 forwards.
Alex Byrne. Imagine they had
Alex Byrne. Sorry, Tyke Byrne. Sorry.
Good Kildare, man.
Right.
but we'll bring someone back and play with 5 forwards, and that really plays into Mayo's hands and allows them to let go.
It does.
Backline. So it comes back to that bravery piece again.
Yeah, a bad defeat can scare you into making a bad decision like that.
Yeah. It's a tricky one, but I just think with Mayo's body's back, despite all their old failings, coming back in that third quarter and their fourth quarter, really trying to see out that game, and it's a different thing altogether. But I think they'll have too much in Croker as well. I think Croker Park suits Mayo. If this game was in Newbridge, very, 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 very different conversation.
I think so too.
But I think Croker suits Mayo, and I don't think it suits Kildare as well.
Okay. They're the two winners, Armagh and Mayo, who go on to play Donegal and Kildare next weekend. The losers, Tyrone, as we mentioned, have been dumped out of the All-Ireland. I'm going to come back to that in a second. But for Monaghan, had they a right to feel aggrieved? I'm just going to read you out the quotes direct after the game. Seamus McEntee: I am not going to sugarcoat this here. We are absolutely very disappointed. We think it was a stone-one penalty there at the end. We were robbed of a penalty. We were robbed of extra time. There is no grey area. Listen, never in my lifetime, and I am 20 years managing teams and managing Monaghan teams, have I ever complained of a referee in my life. Today was disgraceful as far as we're concerned, and that is my immediate thought. These are huge margins. We can do everything, but you can't legislate for that kind of stuff there today. How, like, ball comes in to Leonard. Keegan has his 2 hands on him.
I would say
you're not going to tackle one hand, put one hand behind his back. He sticks his hands out.
I think it is a penalty.
Oh,
right? I think it's a penalty, but I think the reason Barry Cassidy doesn't give it
because Castlebar.
No, not even. It's a big call to give it because it's your third bit of injury time and it's an 11th game.
It is a big call,
but Leonard he just goes down straight away.
Yes.
If he tries to push off Keegan and take a step forward, or even if he tries to swing at it, Lee Keegan is not going to let him take that shot. Guaranteed. There's no way. Keegan will pull him to the ground. He will rugby tackle him. But Leonard he feels it and straight away he goes down.
Yeah.
I still think it was a penalty.
But there was no... Keegan's contact didn't put him on the deck.
That's what I'm saying. It's the law book, everything about it, even looking at it at the time, it was like, that is a penalty. But I can see why Cassidy doesn't give it. Whereas if he just pushes off and tries to make forward progress, Keegan's going to pull him down anyway, as sure as night follows day. But he gives him half an excuse not to give it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give it. And even watching on telly, I don't know, if people watching on Sky called that it's given. Both early, and they're like,
with an advantage, I think they said it was.
With an advantage.
How does this work? An advantage to a penalty.
Oh, he didn't give it. But I thought it was a penalty. I could see why Monaghan are raging. I wouldn't sugarcoat it. Mayo were the better team.
I think
better,
so.
And Monaghan were poor. Monaghan were really poor. And like I say, that third quarter, if Mayo are in any way, they take 2 or 3 of those chances. This game, it's a 9 or 10 point game.
Yeah.
So Monaghan were poor. I don't think they can feel overly aggrieved, but with that decision, I can understand if you're Banty going, I'd have given the penalty. I thought it was, but I could see why Cassidy didn't give it.
In layman's terms, James, as Paddy is putting it, he just didn't buy it enough.
Yeah.
No, I think he bought it too much.
You're dead right.
I think he tried to buy it too much. He just hit the deck straight away.
He tried to steal it.
Okay, he tried to steal it.
Talk us through.
How would he have bought it? So
I think that Paddy hit the nail on the head of whatever he said, except for I didn't think it was a penalty.
Okay.
Because that's the main thing I said.
Yeah, but the reason that you're saying that he didn't get it is the reason that he shouldn't have got it, in my opinion. Like, he catches the ball, feels the contact, and goes, right, I'm going down. I'm going down regardless. I don't want to take on this responsibility of having to actually score a goal. Whereas if he caught it and thought goal and took a couple of steps, Keegan was bringing him down. And even if he took a couple of steps and then went down, but like, he didn't just catch the ball and Keegan belted him so hard that he had to fall over on the spot. So I think he was too giddy, too intent on going down, didn't earn the foul, no pen.
But you can see Keegan obviously panics. If you're Keegan and Aidan O'Shea fires that ball across and you're like, oh my God, that's over my head. Like, Keegan goes to grab him. He's 100%. I think it is a foul, but he's definitely going to foul him if Leonard takes literally exactly what you're saying, goes, I'm in here. Whereas I think he just gets it as like, he can't believe his luck.
He's in shock as well.
Yeah. And he goes, I'm just going to hit the deck. And he did. And I think if he was honest, and I'm sure Banty would have said it to him, he, like, looking it back, he makes no attempt to make forward progress.
No, he should have just
that shouldn't really matter. It's like Keegan wraps him, and by the rule book, but that gives Cassidy an excuse not to give it.
Do you reckon he wraps him because he kind of stuck out his 2 hands and he goes, "You're not going anywhere."
I'm watching the
slow. Lee Keegan's not letting him go anywhere anyway.
No, he's not. But there's no jersey pull. There's no push. He's just strong.
But Keegan knows, he wraps it. He's like, shit. He can't believe what's after happening there. 5 points up a minute ago. And all of a sudden, Aidan O'Shea plays the most phenomenal through ball over his head.
It really was.
It was phenomenal. And he's like, I just think the reaction there is just grabbed it. Do not let this guy get a shot. And the fact that it's Keegan as well, there's no way he's letting him shoot. But I think Leonard is the same. He's shocked. He's like, I can't believe I'm in.
Yeah.
And he just falls.
Yeah, and he flicks it off then, yeah.
I don't think he's shocked when it's not given either.
No, he didn't look shocked. He didn't look shocked.
Everyone else was. Carl O'Connell was going to try to stone cold stunner.
Yeah, when he gave the free against him at
and
the end.
He gave the free down the other end, yeah.
I'm looking at the slow motion replay there.
Tommy, give us your verdict on it.
I thought it was a penalty watching the replay. I thought it was a penalty. I think what you're both saying is completely right. I have to admit, in the roadshow, James talks about buying frees. I was nervous at moments during the roadshow. I have to admit that, lads. There's times that I cut across one of you or James. At that stage, I wasn't listening. And I said something like, really, to you? And you turned to me and you're like, what do you mean you can't buy a free? And I was like, oh God, there's 500 people looking at me and I haven't a clue what he just said. So I kind of doubled down on it. So I think you're right.
You're chewing here, are you?
No. I think it was a penalty, but I think you're both right. And if I get into that position in a game this summer, by God, am I buying it?
Earn it and buy it. Like you have to earn it with a couple of steps.
100%.
And then he has no.
You're not going to get it.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm surprised. Like Castlebar, it was such a hard decision to make for him. But when I think it was 3 points was the difference at the time.
It was 112 to 12. 112 to 12.
Yeah, so it would have leveled.
Monaghan had just scored 2 points in injury time. So there was 3 minutes left of injury time, and it was 112 to 10.
Can you explain when you said, Paddy, earlier on that Aidan O'Shea had one of his best games in a long time? Can you just, in a minute, what is his best game to you? Like, what is that?
Exactly what he did on Saturday. He's not going to score points for you, but he was influential in transitions. Bar hand passing the ball to Conor Leonard for the goal. But I thought around the middle of the field, I thought in terms of calming the game down at different times, you'll see him, he's on the ball. It was real leadership from him, breaking tackles. And Monaghan were putting big pressure on him because they were chasing the game, and he's so hard to dispossess. He's the arms in the air, and he's winning frees, and he played a real leadership role for Mayo on Saturday. People expect, and we've said this before, Aidan O'Shea needs to be running up and down the middle of the pitch. That was never his game.
No.
He might have been able to do it a bit better 5 or 6 years ago. People expect him to score 5 points from play. That's not his game either. What he's good at is turning the opposition over, managing the transition out of defence, and just showing leadership. And I thought he did all of those things really well on Saturday up until that point.
Yeah, he got away with it.
Mayo got away with
Definitely.
it. But they were a better team. Like, and I know Banty, I'd be frustrated and if the Monaghan players with their chances. McCarron was excellent for them in the first half. Drifted out in the second half. McManus, not one of his best days. He doesn't owe anyone anything. He doesn't owe Monaghan anything. But if he's not on form, Monaghan are struggling for scores. And you could see that in the second half. They themselves go 20 minutes without scoring.
Yeah.
McManus is 1 from 3. Normally he has 3 shots per quarter.
Yeah, definitely.
And then McCarron's kind of keeping a bit in the first half with some brilliant scores, but he's taken out in the second half. And Monaghan just do not look like scoring.
One of the factors I thought watching the game as well was there was plenty of times that McCarron and McManus were back defending. I know they do that a bit anyways, but it felt like the Mayo defence were pushing them because they're all attacking. Yeah. There is one moment in the first half where McCarron is back defending and the ball goes up and it's just Mohan on his own. And then you're thinking, what's going on here? And a few minutes later, McCarron's back defending again, makes it up for the rest of the attack and scores a lovely point with the outside of the boot. But I think when those lads are under that kind of pressure, McCarron and McManus, you may not have them then down the stretch.
But as well,
this is 35 lads.
Yeah.
But when you're
running up and down, back down the pitch, and he's off, he comes off at 60 minutes. You're thinking, there's one man you want in the clutch.
Yeah.
And it's nearly the case of, does Banty say, Conor, you are the ace in the pack here, and he's proven it over the last decade. Do you play the McBrearty role and just go, you stay in? Nearly what Tyrone did with McCurry.
But that's what he used to do. Why you used to lay a hand on a fella before?
Like, if you look at McCurry yesterday, and he's probably Tyrone, him and Michael McKiernan were the only standout guys for Tyrone, he felt nearly all championship play. McCurry stayed in the 21.
Yeah.
Like, he drifts out a little bit, but he's not really defending.
No, he
is doing full length. He gets an unbelievable turnover nearly the full back line in the second half. And you go, that is a massive ass to keep that up with the miles on the clock.
Especially 35.
At 35.
But sometimes, Paddy, you can be, unless you're an actual good defender, you can be a liability back there. Yeah. And I know I've gone back in matches before, and I think that I'm doing the right thing. And just because my peripheral vision as a defender isn't as good as it should be, there's a fella snuck in behind me maybe, or my concentration isn't what it is when we're attacking. And that's what happened for his black card. He was standing top of the D. He was in the most important defensive position, and he's your corner forward. And next thing, he sticks out a leg, black card, into the sin bin, and that was a game changer.
Yeah.
Mayo scored 1-3 up there. Mayo scored 1-3 to no score when he's in the sin bin.
Yeah. It was
same against Galway. They made hay against Galway as well when they got the hit at sin bin too.
Just on that, lads, you noticed yesterday, right? As bad as Tyrone were, and a bit of credit here, right? They conceded 1-2 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
on the spin after news is gone, and McEntee hits the deck on a kick out for about 2 minutes and slows it all down, and then they get momentum back and they kick a couple of points before half time, and Richie Donnelly gets black carded in the second half. 10 minutes, and I actually noticed this. It's 1-1 during that 10-minute period. So Tyrone manages. They have 3 injuries.
I didn't cop that.
Yeah. Myler goes down for about 2 minutes. Michael McKiernan goes down for about 2 minutes. Michael McKiernan goes down again for a free of the other side, another 2 minutes, and McCurry kicks the free. And Tyrone, despite not being anywhere near the levels of what we expect of them, or was All-Ireland champions last year, that's just game smarts.
Yeah.
When the game was going against you, kill the clock.
Yeah.
Man, and Fitzmaurice actually mentioned it on commentary on the Sunday game yesterday. But so it was obvious like Myler's down and he's 2 minutes gone. And Tyrone managed that. And it's level on the sim. Now, Donnelly comes back on and Armagh pull away completely then. They kick 3 or 4 the next scores and ultimately win the game. But for Monaghan there, with an experienced team like that, you're thinking, McManus, we're down to 14 minutes. Don't let the game get away from you here.
Yeah.
It's
very good.
It's just an interesting thing to note from sin bins that you'll see. Keep an eye out for over the next couple of weeks as well.
Everyone aspires to that level of dark arts and cynicism and game management. Game
management, I would call.
It must be very difficult though to have everyone hymning from the same or singing from the same hymn sheet.
It's experience, and that's why you expect a team like Monaghan with all their experience and Banty and Sheedy and
you'd associate them with it.
And all the lads, like they're the poster boys for it. That they'd have that kind of management. You're looking at on the flip side, someone like a Kildare against Dublin. They can see 2 of those first goals. You want 4 lads going down.
Yeah,
hit the deck, lads. Let's stop this game for 5 minutes if we can, and they don't. And that's inexperience that can get away from you. And I thought Tyrone, one of the very few positives that they had yesterday, you could see that any time momentum was creeping away from it, was like, right, we need to get a grip of this while we can. Still wasn't enough. Obviously, you need to do more than that to win these big games. But there's moments where you're under pressure as a team and everyone needs to be on the same page.
Time is slipping away from us slightly here. But James, your name and your phrases, your quotes were pinned to the Tyrone dressing room wall. I'm sure all this, I'm only joking. They probably weren't. But like it was, I thought, very interesting that on your first podcast, your first moment as a pundit, you felt, I suppose, brave enough and comfortable enough to suggest that Tyrone was struggling in the league. You know,
yeah.
I feel like as the season went on, your opinion of them didn't change a whole pile. They're All-Ireland under-20 winners. They are the reigning Ulster minor champions at the minute. They're in an All-Ireland quarter-final. They lost a clatter of players this year. They obviously had their post-All-Ireland celebrations, their holiday just before the league started. Would you expect that group to come back with a vengeance in 2023?
Yes, 100%. They can just write off this year. It was an absolute shocker. Like, there's no doubt about it. They had an unbelievable year last year. Everything went their way. This year, they just could not get going. They looked flat. They looked listless and lifeless. And it's not an ability thing again. It's just they couldn't get going. And sometimes when you keep getting knocked, you think there's going to be a bounce, but sometimes it just doesn't come. So they can go away. It's so early. It's June. They don't have to see each other for a couple of months. They can go away back to their clubs, find themselves in terms of football again. They don't have to worry about getting the cup and bringing it to this club and that club or going on this trip and that trip. Just concentrate on your club, get yourself back right, and then you're fresh to see each other again and go at it again next year. They're probably sick of the sight of each other. They must be, because the fellas are walking off the panel. Everything was going wrong for them. So it's just a case of parking that up.
Yeah,
and we'll go again next year.
I wouldn't be worried about them next season, but I just think from the very first game when Cavan annihilated them in the McKenna Cup, you're just thinking, right, okay, senior players are injured. I get that. They're not playing the early rounds of the league. Then you start getting players walking away from the panel. It's another bit of a kick. I can't give me one performance where Tyrone were good all year. Like,
Larry maybe. But there was nothing to play for.
Like getting anywhere near the levels they reached last year.
No.
Like, and I don't like singling lads out, but yesterday's their biggest game of the season, and their player of the year is on the bench. He's dropped.
Yeah.
Like that's nearly a symbol of how that season has gone for Tyrone. You look at their biggest play, like Matty Donnelly, Peter Hart, never really. Matty Donnelly's been injured for most of the year, and I get that. Older player, owes Tyrone nothing. But he had a massive influence in that All-Ireland win last year. McGeary's player of the year, and he sent off a couple of times. He's dropped for the big games. McShane, they're trying to get a tune out of McShane all year. They couldn't wait any longer. He doesn't start yesterday. Peter Hart the same. Moyler picked up by Charlie Burns yesterday. You look at all the big games Tyrone won last year, semi-final, final in particular. Moyler was outstanding. Game changer, literally a game winner. No influence again. Morgan missing his frees. All of the things that went for Tyrone last year, just none of it. They did not get one break this year. And I'm not saying that they won the All-Ireland because they were lucky last year, but these are the things that happened for Tyrone last year that got them over the line in the big games. And bar maybe McCurry being at his level, Michael McKiernan as well, I thought yesterday's quite good. But outside that, like Conor McKenna gets a goal in the first minute yesterday, doesn't really have an impact after that, in and out of the team all season, even in the National League. These are all the outstanding players for Tyrone winning the All-Ireland last year. The hunger, the energy, the intent that they had in their play. I don't think at any stage over the last 6 months they've shown that at any level. And they'll know that themselves. Of course they do. Look at the results they've had. And I think, I agree with James completely. It's just, lads, take a few months off there. Go away, go on holiday, play a bit of club stuff. They'll come back refreshed next year and have that hunger and have that energy, and they'll be written off, and they'll have be in their bonnet. And guys like McGeary and Moyler and these other 20 guys coming into the panel bring a fresh bit of energy into it, and they regroup, and they'll be a handful next season. But as All-Ireland defences go, not at any stage did Tyrone get going over the last 6 months, and they can have no complaints, and they won't have any complaints.
Well, I'd say they got their timing wrong. I'd say, because of the shortened year, they thought they'd get going at some stage, and it just crept up on them, and they just couldn't get it going. So
in defence, right, Jimmy, you have to enjoy winning the All-Ireland.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and particularly for Tyrone, who hadn't won it in so long, none of those guys had won All-Ireland. You got to go and enjoy it. And I'll give you an example. Dublin in 2011 were in the same situation where they won it All-Ireland, having been 16 years without it. Exact same the following season. Totally flat. Nearly beaten by Laois, nearly beaten by Wexford in the Leinster Championship. Go out and lose to Mayo in the All-Ireland semi-final then. Being hammered at halftime. They kind of get it back together. But that season was like what Tyrone were having. It was just flat all year. You're thinking, it's going to come. We're going to get it going. Key players getting a couple of injuries, it's fine. We will get going when it matters. And it never really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that can happen when a team is not used to having that success. You have to enjoy it, because that's winning All-Ireland for those guys was massive, and for the county. But they were chasing their tail from day one, and they never got it back.
Yeah.
And they'll learn a hell of a lot of lessons from that. Logan and Dewhart will learn a hell of a lot of lessons. The players will learn about the mentality of their teammates, because they were up against it at different times this year, and we don't know, but behind the scenes, I am guaranteed you, they were having big conversations, and they'll see how players react to that, and they'll learn a lot. And they get a batch of these 20s to come in. Nearly perfect timing for those guys. But as this season has gone,
scratch it.
Scratch it. It's done.
Yeah,
it's over.
Well, I said it early last year that Tyrone has struggled in the league. I'd say this early this year about next year. They'll be up the top of the league next year, guaranteed.
They'll win the league next year.
Well, I'm excited to see them.
They'll win the National League next year.
I'm excited to see them in 2023. Well, we do have a bit of breaking news here on the football pod. It's just been confirmed.
Oh, hello.
Another team who crashed out this week, Meath were beaten by Clare, and Andy McEntee has just confirmed in a statement to the Meath County Board that he will not be seeking reappointment for a third term. So the Meath County Board have commenced their search for the new manager. So McEntee came into Meath as an All-Ireland club winner with Ballyboden. He had brought a Meath minor team to an All-Ireland final in 2012. They were beaten by a very talented Dublin side in that final. He brought Meath to Division 1. Meath played more Division 1 teams, lads, in that campaign than they had played in the last 10 years of football in Championship and League. So they had more games against Division 1 opposition between the Super 8s in 2019 and that 7 games the following years. 10 games. Meath hadn't played 10 games against Division 1 opposition in League or Championship for the previous decade. So it just shows you the base of where Meath football was at and where they came from. It definitely went sour towards the end, speaking as a Meath man. I don't know where the county is going to go next. I think the next move is incredibly important. I think what they need to be looking at is a man, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this briefly because time is against us, but a management team that can look after it and steady the ship, change things up a little bit for the next 2 or 3 years. And that is when you hope that the two very talented teams that we have right now, the group that are 18 and the group that are 19, that you'd hope that you can foster that talent and that potential. And when they're 22 and 23, that potentially they'll be good to go and they'll be coming into an environment that is competing at Division 1 level more consistently. So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know where they're going to go. In my eyes, I don't think there are a huge amount of people within the county putting their hands up to say, I'm the next manager. Andy McEntee was the outstanding candidate back in 2019. And in many ways, he had a dream team around him with his selectors as well. He had Finney Murtha and Donald Curtis involved, and Jerry McEntee was involved as well that first time he came around. So I don't know what they're going to do next. Paddy, I don't know, looking in from the outside as somebody who's been frustrated by Meath over the last decade, do you know where they should go?
I don't know, it's not in my head now, but I just say for Andy, I thought he was definitely the right man for the job. The passion he has and the McEntee family have for me football, I looked as a dub and knowing the guys personally as well, I thought it was right that he got the job, and I thought he gave Meath a bounce. There was, without it, you've gone through it there. There was tangible progress. I think it started to turn. Even when they were relegated in Division 1, it was tricky because it's kind of during COVID times as well. To bounce straight back up the next year, they lose that game. It was basically a straight shootout between them and Kildare and Newbridge to get back to Division 1. They didn't perform in Leinster finals against Dublin. We've seen that can happen, not just Meath. That's not saying it's acceptable for Meath, but it's a tough gig to go into. And Andy brought progress, but there's no doubt, and he allowed himself, and the Meath fans know it, it had stalled. It had probably gone a bit stale, and they needed a kick this year. And if you look at how the season went, purely on this season alone, they were not within an arse's roar of getting out of Division 2. There was a distinct gap between Galway and Roscommon, who got out, and Derry, who were pushing them along the way. There was significant drop off in standards to Meath, Cork, Clare, Offaly. So it's not even stalling. It's probably drifted back a bit. Then you look at their championship performance. We've gone through it. The Dublin game, bad. Okay, that's not progress there either. And I didn't fancy them against Clare last weekend. I just think the way the season has gone, just the atmosphere around the camp. We're talking about it with Tyrone as All-Ireland champions. You can get into a rut in a campaign and in a season where it's gone flat. Yeah, and you're out of ideas. Andy's been there a long time. He doesn't owe them anything, but I think it's probably the right time. And he, like as he said himself, there was kind of murmurs last season with how last season went that they'll change it around. So he's probably under pressure to get a kick out of them this season. And it just didn't happen. And it's not just Andy, it's the players, it's the coaches, it's everyone collectively in BGA. Sad to see him go, obviously, but you're right, it's a massive appointment for me. You look, and I'll say, you look at how quickly things can turn around. Derry, bring the right man in, and from absolutely nowhere, back-to-back promotions, win the Ulster Championship. Ed McGinley goes into Antrim. No, he stepped away now. Back-to-back promotions. Mickey Hart, back-to-back promotions with Louth. Hasn't happened for him in the championship, but there's tangible progress. You get the right man in. You're telling me don't have the tradition or the raw materials.
The thing in me, though, Paddy, is the clubs have a bee in their bonnet about outside managers. And Banty came in, and this is the issue.
I don't care about bees in their bonnet. If BGA wants to be successful, you pull in the same direction. Look at what Offaly are doing. Look at what Rory Gallagher, Christian McKeag, all these guys in Derry said. That type of shit. They don't want this. The county board don't want this. The players don't want this. The supporters don't want this. You have got no chance. You can bring in Pep Guardiola next season. And if everyone's pulling in different directions, it's going to be the same story. Get used to Division 2. Get used to hidings off Dublin and Croke Park. First port of call, everyone is for the benefit of BGA. Clubs, supporters, sponsors, players. Because I don't care who you are. You could be the world's greatest coach and you go in there. If that's not in place, forget about it. Templates are there and it can turn around quickly. But if there's people going the other directions, no one will want the job. That would be my advice. Because that annoys me when there's self-sabotage within the county. Like, are we not here to see Meath GAA progress and be back to the boiling days and that type of thing? Dublin people want that. The Leinster Championship needs that. And look, you can take a leaf out of Kildare's book, the bounce they've got. I don't think they're going to get through at the weekend, but bring in 4 of their greatest legends, and all of a sudden the supporters are behind you, the sponsors are behind you, and I tell you, if you're a young player in there, you're behind the team as well. So it is a big appointment.
It's massive.
And you've got to be pulling in the same direction from the start.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful message, and I might be sharing that. But that is the thing I was getting to, is that Banty came in before, and that was the first, I think, outside manager in Meath football. And I have a feeling that Meath need an outside manager this time around. I feel like we need one, and get the next young management ticket ready for 3 years' time. Personally, I don't feel like that is in the county right now at the minute. It's not like the Kerry job that went up the last day and there was 3 or 4 different tickets coming out of the woodwork. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see.
Garrity, Tommy Dowd, and
Stick Ollie Murphy in there.
Ollie Murphy, there's your 5 lads.
Yeah.
If I was a young lad in Meath and they were the 5 managers, I'd be putting my name in the hat.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when you say outside manager, that almost blackballs you, but it should be who's the best candidate, whether they're from where, no matter where they're from. True. Because there is going to be some name that's going to pop up, and it's just going to put a bit of excitement back into the county. And that's what it needs. It needs that little bit of a flame just to get people excited again. Because let's be fair, McEntee was completely undercut at the start of the year. With that, it went around the country basically that he was not getting voted back in. Then he was. That seeps into the dressing room. That
Definitely.
seeps into players' families and things. They're going, what's going on inside in your camp? You don't even know who's going to be the manager. Like, it has to be, the manager has to be number one. No question marks asked. No questions asked. He has to be the main man. So when he's undercut by the county board or whoever it was, it sends a bad signal straight away.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on from Meath. That's their year over. That's Tyrone's year over. That's Monaghan's year over. Louth's year's over as well. I want to get your predictions because we have a couple of things to get through. James, you've already gone big. You've led with Kildare to beat Mayo. Paddy, you're gone for Mayo. I'm in the Paddy Andrews camp. I'm sticking with Mayo and Croker. I think they're going to prove James wrong, and I hope they convince James to back them the next time around. Next game up, Armagh-Donegal. Just want the team you want, the team you're picking. Give it to me, Paddy.
Armagh got to learn the lessons.
Yeah,
but Donegal can't be as bad as they were against Derry. But
I can't back Donegal again.
Yeah, we've been burned too many times, man.
Yeah, me and you in the podcast. I think we've backed Donegal anytime they've gone up, Paddy.
To beat Derry. Jesus.
Yeah. So did I, and I had backed Derry to beat Tyrone. So I'm sticking with Armagh this time, James. It's in your ball, of course.
Yeah. I think we're going to curse them, but I think that Donegal are better on paper than they are on the field at the moment, which is never. They're
always like that.
Yeah.
So
I think Armagh will get the hang of the kickouts. They'll kick the ball more. They have scoring threat. I fancy Armagh.
Okay. Just to give a mention as well, Paddy Andrews got every single one of his predictions right last week, apart from one.
Back, baby.
Apart from one. Apart from one. You called Tyrone to beat Armagh.
Did I? No.
Yeah, you did. And James.
Was that on Monday? I don't remember that podcast on Monday, lads.
James O'Donoghue, you got every single one of your predictions right, apart from one. You called for Monaghan to beat Mayo.
He was only trying to wind up the crowd.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to.
He thought Mayo.
Yeah.
Did I back Monaghan last week? Did I?
You did, yeah.
Remember we agreed in the green room?
Yeah.
We're on our 4th point.
Yeah. And I got every single one of my predictions right last week, but it doesn't matter.
Higgins is going to deck you.
Yeah. Okay.
He was nearly backing more against Mayo than I was.
The room was very dark, wasn't it? Yeah. So, okay.
An awful lot of backing of Mick Burns now at about 2 a.m.
Yeah, there really was. There really was. When Mick delivered the black and white pudding, I never saw our eyes light up as much after 2. Yeah. Feed a pint. Nick comes out with the food. Always look that from Castlebar.
Fair play, should be.
Okay. Clare-Meath. These are 2 teams now that drew in the league. Are you back in the Rossies?
Oh, all day long. Yeah.
In Croker.
Fair play to Clare, but Rossies and Croker. Roscommon are going to win that.
That was a big win for Colin Collins and his Clare side. Meath had the hex on them in the last 4 or 5 years. They should have kicked Meath out the gate.
Yeah.
Should have had him in the fiery car park.
When it comes down to conversion, if your conversion rate is a direct link to how good you are as a team. If you're missing chances, then you're not that good. Whereas if you're scoring on the chances, you are a serious outfit then. I think Roscommon will win that game as well, even though I think Clare, in fairness to them, I think they're very solid, but Roscommon have more experience.
I was impressed. Yeah, I was impressed with elements of Roscommon's game against Galway. I thought Ultan Harney had one of the finest games he's played in championship football. Ultan's been knocking around for a number of years, always plagued with injuries. I think he'll have a big game. I think this one will be close. I think the Roshes will shade it. I think it's the shooting that'll make the difference. I think Clare will be better in front of the post the next time, I hope, because they do have quality forwards up there in Tubridy and Cleary and Sexton, but they're going to need to nail them next time around. Final game of the weekend, Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Cork Limerick. I'm getting in there first. I'm back in Limerick.
Oh,
back in Limerick to beat Cork.
I remember you said something a couple of weeks back, and it was like Limerick are the second best team in Munster. It's a tight one. First, it shouldn't be fucking Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Like play that one in Ennis on a Saturday night, full house.
Absolutely,
it's a lot more even. I think like it's an advantage to Cork having it there. Cork weren't great against Louth, but they're probably comfortable. I think Louth will probably regret not having. And I know they've played defensively, and that's worked for them this season. Or Mickey Hart doesn't like when they say defensively, but they've got bodies back. I think if they played a bit more on the front foot, they could have hurt Cork a bit more. I think Cork will probably nick this one, lads. I think this is probably. I think for the success story of Limerick this season, this would be a massive win for them. To get over the line to beat Cork and get into the next phase.
It'd be huge.
I think Cork.
Did Louth beat Limerick in the league?
Yeah,
they did. They bet them in the league final. Limerick had an injury or two going into, like, a Brian Donovan was missing one or two others, but Loud bet them. Yeah,
I just get the sense of Limerick's season kind of. It was always a hiding to nothing against Kerry in the Munster final, but it can peter out a bit after that.
Okay,
the fact that it's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Cork getting a good win, backing up there. Let's say backing up, but they showed a bit of fight against.
They did. Yeah.
I'm sure they don't think that sounds really patronising in a way, but there were some positives to take from that. They've got their injured players back. They win against Louth.
Powder's injured again, though, is he? Did he got a knock?
Came off, but is he? I don't think it was that bad, was it?
I don't know.
A quick turnaround in a week if he's got a knock. Well, I think Cork will probably nick that one. That's a tight one.
Okay.
That is a very tight one.
James, where are you going?
I'd love to see what Limerick have been doing since losing to Kerry. Do you know? Have they just packed it? Do you know? They had a great year. They're promoted. They got to Munster final first time in a long time. Was that enough for them?
Mm-hmm.
I think if they knew they were going to draw Cork after the Munster final, they'd have bounced again straight away.
It's a good draw for Limerick.
It's a good draw for Limerick. Yeah, I think Cork will have the momentum. Do you know?
Okay.
They didn't get the downer against Kerry that they could have got. They've won since, so I'm going to go Cork at home.
Okay, Cork at home. There you have it. There are predictions for next week.
Who did you go for?
I went for Limerick. Straight away. I think Limerick
right
will
off
beat
the
them.
bat. Yeah. Put a lunge.
I've seen Limerick a few times. I think they're going to get the better of them in Croker or in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Cork. Okay, a couple of quick fire questions from the football listeners, and then we're done. We're finished for this week. First one for you, Paddy. First one for you.
Oh, hello.
Your buddy Paul Mannion.
Yeah.
He's gone to Boston for the summer.
He is.
Have you been chatting to him?
I was chatting to him a while back, yeah.
Playing with Donegal Boston?
I was chatting about a month ago, he was telling me, yeah.
He's excited, is he?
He's very excited, yeah. He's over for a couple of months.
Is he working in construction or is he behind the bar?
I don't know. He'll do something.
Has he landed over there?
Yeah, he's over there
now.
That's all right, because they're turning him around. They're turning some amount of fellas away at the airport.
He's in there. He's in and he's done. He will be some handful for some power lad on a Sunday in that championship.
How's the knee?
No, he's back. He's fine. He's ready to rock. Had to do medicals to get signed off.
Wow.
He's over there. Look, it's great for him. He'll enjoy it. The Dubs would love to have him, obviously, but that ship sails. But I'll sneak over myself and give him some moral support.
Good stuff.
I don't think I get the transfer fee he'd be getting though.
Oh, would you go over and play with the ball? Because that's the second question. Would James or Paddy follow Paul Mannion to Boston or Chicago this summer? It's a wonderful city. I study there. That's coming in from Nicholas Stone.
Is this an offer, is it?
Don't know.
Put a number on the table.
James is too much of a club man, I think.
TFP.
James
no,
is
I would. I never got to go. I was supposed to go once. Neither of us couldn't go. So I definitely not this year, but I think about it. All right, maybe next year.
Cool. Paddy?
Our life gets in the way when you're a bit older, though, doesn't it?
Does, I suppose. I'm still only 29 now.
I could work remotely from Boston.
You absolutely could. You absolutely
time
could.
Difference. Yeah.
You see, the work scenario is like some fellas go over there for the summer and they're working like dogs. Like,
that wouldn't be me.
No, that would some of those, and then going training.
2 days on, 5 days off would be my motto there. Work-life balance is very important.
Work-life football balance, very important. Balance, Well, I agree with Paddy. I feel sorry for whatever defender comes up against Paul Mannion.
That's going to be
Is it 13 side in Boston or 15?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I got a lot of Dustins in Canton GA grounds in Boston in 2012. I was 19. I was playing in centre back and cornerback. I was in trouble. Yeah, I was.
Any offers there from my friends in Chicago, Boston?
Okay.
Tweet.
Okay, get back to Paddy. His DMs are open. A second one for Paddy. Owen O'Donnell called into the Dublin senior football squad from the hurlers. A, what position will he play? And B, most pertinently, will Owen O'Donnell's addition to the panel anger some of the current reserves?
No, I don't think so. I was surprised to see it. It's a unique situation. Obviously, with the hurlers going out, like athletically, he's spot on. His size, his aggression, his speed. But lads, like, he's never played at that level. To come in the middle of the championship, I think in terms of the energy, a new guy like that coming in, like he's a real leader for the hurlers, coming into the panel. There's a bit of a buzz there around training. There's obviously a couple of injuries in the defence, so he's another body for that, for games and drills and stuff like that. I don't know, but hand on heart, I'd be surprised if he plays championship minutes. Like, that's a massive ask for a player. Like, never played a minute at any level senior football for Dublin.
Yeah.
To come in, we're at the All-Ireland series. I think it's a good thing for the squad to have him in, but I'd be surprised if he sees any action.
It's an interesting.
He's not going to be better than Rock, Costello, or Con. So
like he might play in the backs.
Is he? I thought he's full forward.
Well, he's full forward in football, club football with is he? What club is he in?
Whitehall. But
Costello's club.
They obviously have the reasons.
Yeah,
brought him in. It's an extra body. His attitude, his personality will be positive around the place, but I think it'd be a massive ask for him to play minutes in the championship.
Yeah.
If this was the start of the season and he goes through a whole of World Cup and National League, he's never played any of those games. To go in, like Dublin's next opponents could be Donegal or could be Armagh, O'Neill or something. Like, it's the step up is too vast in that space of time.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think they're playing the long game.
It's an interesting one. Yeah,
they're taking him now. I think they're taking him now, so he won't go back with the hurlers next year.
Could be.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, it's one to keep an eye on. A good few questions in, and we've already covered it, so we won't get back into it. But Nigel wants to know what your thoughts are on the bizarre call to bring Roscommon, Clare, and Mayo all the way to Croker on a Saturday afternoon.
I'm with you, Nigel. I'm backing you up, baby.
Pat Mack wants to know why bring Mayo supporters to Croke Park. Paddy has your back. He agrees. Ronan Hurricane, the Tailteann Cup and backdoor games have already been very, very competitive. Does that mean that the Tailteann Cup is already successful? Are we giving it the thumbs up?
Yeah, and it's only going to get better.
Great stuff.
I can see on that, and I know we'll touch on it next week. I'm looking at a Cavan Westmeath final.
Ooh,
I feel it'd be great to see Offaly in it, but like that will be. It's massive for all the county. You look at what happened in Carrick and Shannon the other day. You look at those teams going to Croker in 2 weeks' time. I'll tell you, there'll be more crowd at the Tailteann Cup semi-finals in 2 weeks' time than there will be in the All-Ireland qualifiers this Saturday.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge moment for those counties to see what kind of a backing they have, because obviously we all want to see them play in front of crowds. The crowd has to come out now and support the players. Like,
I'll tell you,
go and follow.
Look it up and go to those games.
Have
a crowd are going to be there. But for Sligo back in Croker,
yes,
massive. Offaly and Westmeath are usually in Croker playing the Dubs in the Leinster quarter final, and they're not going there.
Offaly will bring a crowd, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Dignan will have him. He'll have buses into states to bring fellas to that game.
We'll be previewing.
Get tickets for that game. Get us tickets for that. I work those games. I'd rather get those two.
The two of you should be working those games. We will be talking about the two Tailteann Cup semi-finals next weekend. We will be reviewing the 4 qualifiers we have this weekend. And by next Monday, when the podcast comes out, we should have the All-Ireland quarterfinal draw in the football. So, Paddy and James, pleasure to be back on with you again. Thank you very much for joining us on the Football Pod once more.
Thanks, us.
Thank you to everyone who listens in. As always, we really appreciate your support. We will see you on the road again soon.
Oh,
Paddy and James.
Enjoy the rest of the bank holiday, lads.
Enjoy the week. Talk soon.